Format today is we're going to cover the 14 playoff teams. We will go matchup by matchup, team by team, matchup by matchup, and then we'll get to the bye teams and we will go by conference. Let's start with the number 2 seed in the NFC. It will be the Chicago Bears. Bears decided this game on Sunday was worth going all out for against the dead Lions. They decided it was worth going all out for to ensure the number 2 seed. So the Bears decided to play all their starters. And as we've seen somewhat often this season, their offense was inept until the very end when Caleb rallies them, goes nuts. But it was not enough this time. Bears lose to a dead Lions team, 19-16 at home. I would say a concerning offensive performance through 3 quarters for them as they head into the playoffs. Evan, what do you think of Bears' game against the Lions?
Yeah, I mean, they just came out flat, slept walk for 2-3 quarters even. The only guy that really showed up offensively was Colston Loveland, who was an absolute monster. And I'm already anticipating some great offseason debates about tight end rankings. I mean, you could see that coming. The Bears did play the game without Ozzie Trapillo, but they had played games before with Theo Benedict at left tackle and been competent up front. But it was just a slog. DJ Moore left a ton of yards on the field. Luther Burden really he wasn't a factor until really like the end of the second quarter, and then a little bit in the second half. It was just an extremely disappointing offensive effort from Chicago. And defensively, I mean, although they only gave up 19 points, Amon-Ra St. Brown just did whatever he wanted to against the Bears. The Bears are really slow on defense. Their linebackers have suffered injuries. Jalen Johnson, anytime that Jalen Johnson got in the vicinity of Jameson Williams, it's just like, Goff, give the ball to Jameson Williams, because Jalen Johnson could not run with him. Kevin Byard is 33 years old. No pass rush. And I think that at the end of the day, that could very well be the undoing of the Bears, is their inability to generate pass rush. They cannot rush the passer consistently against Detroit, despite the fact that the Lions have a very beatable interior. They did not have Penei Sewell, and Taylor Decker at left tackle was playing with one arm.
I mean, I think that all these people are like, oh, you nerds, you keep talking about completion percentage from Caleb Williams, completion percentage over expected, you nerds. This is what happens when you can't complete a lot of passes. You can score 0 points through 3 quarters in a lot of games. And that has happened a lot to the Bears this season. To me, the best way, when they're most effective on offense, it is when they are running the ball downhill with Swift and Monangai. And that is the focus of their offense. Now they have to play the Packers here. This is like a pick 'em, Bears -1, Packers -1, something like that. It is not a runaway whatsoever. In fact, it would not shock me at all if the Packers win this game. But to me, the key coming up for this game is, can the Bears run the ball on offense consistently and successfully to set up Caleb to not have to try to go out there and complete 70% of his passes, because I don't think he can. That's just not his game. So any early thoughts, Evan, for Bears game plan here against the Packers?
I think all that is said pretty well. I'll have a full write-up on the game, obviously, posted by tomorrow or the next day. But I mean, obviously these teams have played twice during the regular season. We've got a little bit of data to work with. The Packers, we know, very, very banged up on both sides of the ball. But I'm with you. I mean, the Bears offense starts with the running game, and they never got that going against Detroit.
Okay. Evan mentioned Colston Loveland. As we noted last week, there has been an actual role change here for Colston Loveland. Even with Cole Kmet playing in this game again, Loveland team high 30 routes on 35 Caleb Williams dropbacks. And that is after running a route on 85% of the dropbacks in week 17, 82% in week 16. So we have Loveland in a full-time alpha role now. That affects the wide receiver routes. In this game, DJ Moore led all wide receivers 27 routes. Luther Burden only 23 out of 35. Zacchaeus 5 out of 35. And then that doesn't even, it's getting crowded is my point. And that doesn't even count that Roma Dunze could be back from his foot injury this week. And if Roma Dunze comes back, it makes it even more crowded there. So as Evan mentioned, Luther Burden did not get involved until very late in this game. Luther Burden only ended up running 23 out of 35 routes. And now we're going to get Rome Odunze maybe back here. So how do you think Rome's possible reinsertion here affects things for the rotation, Evan?
Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune was on the radio this morning. He said, quote, chances are good that Rome Odunze will be back this week. It's just, I mean, I don't know exactly how it's going to affect the routes for Luther Burden. I also don't know exactly if it's a positive thing. I mean, Rome Odunze he flashed in the first 4 games or so. The Bears had the bye in week 5, and then we had, his catch rate was like 43% from Caleb Williams until he suffered a stress fracture. Now he's coming back from a stress fracture in his foot. So I just don't know how big of a positive that is for the Bears getting back Rome Odunze. And it's hard to say exactly, how he's going to affect the routes for the rest of the players.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they like Burden in this specific slot role. They have not shown a willingness to expand him into any kind of full-time, every down role, and I don't think that'll happen. That doesn't mean I don't think he can still lead the team in receiving this weekend, because he definitely can, and I think he probably should. But in terms of actual playing time, I'm just a little queasy there on Luther Burden. Just to tie the bow on the Lions are not in the playoffs and the Panthers are, which just I think it's cool that you win your division, you automatically make the playoffs, but it's just egregious. The Lions, if they played the Panthers on a neutral field, they'd be favored by 10 points or something crazy. Lions point differential this season was plus 68. Panthers were a minus 69. I get the format. I actually kind of like the format. I think the division thing is cool, but I do get that Lions people are this sucks. We're way better than the Panthers, so is what it is. All right. Let's go to number 7 seed in the NFC. It is the Green Bay Packers. Packers played all backups in week 18 as they were locked into that 7 seed. They'll face the Bears Saturday. Very winnable game for the Packers and the Bears. As I said, it's Bears minus 1.5 right now. Ever mentioned how banged up this team was? They needed the week off. Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Christian Watson, all expected to be back and ready to rock here. Evan, any Packers thoughts as they get set for this third meeting between the Packers and the Bears this season?
Yeah, and that's big, obviously, that Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs will be back. But I mean, this team has been, obliterated by season-ending injuries. Tucker Kraft was their best player on offense in the first half of the season. Micah Parsons is a top 3 defensive player in the NFL. Devontae Wyatt was their best run-stuffing defensive tackle. All those guys are done for the season. So they're dealing with what's left. And, I think at the end of the day, they should be able to move the ball on the Bears. So, I mentioned the Bears can't rush the passer. They're not very good against the run. They're slow. They're playing dudes that I don't think are 100%. Nashawn Wright, who has been a stud in terms of takeaways over the course of the season, the Bears' number 2 cornerback. I mean, he is getting obliterated in coverage and in the running game. So despite those losses, the Packers should be able to move the ball. We've seen the 2 games between the Bears and the Packers were 2 of the best games of the season, really. They both came down to the last few plays. So I'm really excited for the game. I think it's going to be a great real-life game. There should be some scoring. What is the total on the game? I haven't even looked yet.
I have to pull it. So I would say somewhere in the mid-40s would be my guess. Looks like 45
45 and a half.
45 and a half. So one note from me for Packers stuff is, what will the Josh Jacobs split be? In other words, how much work can he handle? We have seen them in the past in big games go 80, 90% Josh Jacobs. When he's been on the injury report or it hasn't been that big a game, we've seen plenty of Emmanuel Wilson and plenty of Chris Brooks also. My take is, after sitting out for a lot of the last month and sitting out this past week, if Josh Jacobs is not on the injury report this week, I think we should have it a little bit wider in favor of Jacobs. In other words, playoff game here, they're going to saddle him up. Knee had a couple weeks off. Hopefully he's okay. So I think it's a kind of a toughish projection spot there, but an important one, because there's games where Josh Jacobs can touch the ball 25 times, and there's not that many guys in the NFL that can do that. So that was just something to watch for me.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs has only played 13 snaps since December 20th, only 41 snaps since December 14th.
Yeah.
So he's had a lot of time off. He's had a lot of time to rest that knee.
By the way, it's like I always wonder who these teams want to play in these games where they rest everyone. The Packers rested everyone meaningful. Matthew Golden played 51 of 51 snaps. And like, this was a guy who was the 23rd overall pick in the draft. He's playing 51 of 51 snaps in week 18. He finishes his rookie year, 29 catches. That's it. And he wasn't even that productive at Texas. So really tough run out rookie year here for Matthew Golden. Let's go to the 3 seed in the NFC. It is the Philadelphia Eagles. They rested their starters in this game. I was excited to watch Tanner McKee, and I thought he just played okay. You know, I'm sure the Eagles were hoping for better if they want to trade him in the offseason. And I'm also sure the Eagles are hoping for better because after the Bears lost their game to the Lions, if McKee could have just beaten Josh Johnson on Sunday, the Eagles would have been the 2 seed. But anyways, Eagles are the 3 seed. They will host the 49ers. Big news, Evan, is that Lane Johnson expected to practice Wednesday for the first time since his Liz Frank injury on November 16th. So huge news there for the Eagles. Lane Johnson on-off splits are just crazy with Jalen Hurts. Evan, any thoughts on Eagles as they get set to host the 49ers?
That's the big note that I had. I mean, Rap Sheet and Garofalo both reported that Lane Johnson is going to play this week. Coming off that Liz Frank sprain, has missed 7 games in a row. That'll be big. Talk about defenses that have been obliterated by injury. I mean, the 49ers just suffered another huge blow, losing the replacement for Fred Warner, Tatum Bethune, who had been their play caller on defense, playing middle linebacker. There is some hope that if the 49ers make it to the NFC Championship game, they could get back Fred Warner, but that's a long way from now, and they're not going to have his replacement, Tatum Bethune, at any point because he's done for the year with a groin tear.
I do not think it's a great – well, I'll get to 49ers in a second. Let me just finish up on Eagles' offensive line. Not only do I think getting Lane Johnson back is obviously massive, but it struck me throughout the year that, like, left tackle Jordan Mailata, left guard Landon Dickerson, center Cam Jurgens, they never all seemed like they were actually healthy. You know, they were always banged up. It was always something. They were underperforming the way they played last year. To get them this week off here, Mailata, Dickerson, and Jurgens, and get Lane Johnson back, I think that makes a big difference. And, like, the Eagles have done well against bad defenses. Like, their defense is so good, and when their offense can actually throw the ball and move the ball, they're a really, really good team. I think it's a pretty good matchup for the Eagles here. You know, home against San Francisco. I don't think the Eagles are nearly as good as they were last year. I've talked about their run game and everything, but this is, I think, a pretty clean matchup for them here against the 49ers.
I'm with you. I'm going to be on the Eagles this week.
Oh, last thing on the Eagles. Tank Bigsby can play, man. I mean, 17 touches here for 106 yards, a touchdown. He is so physical, and he had this crazy pass protection rep where he, like, picked up the blitzer, like, off the ground and threw him down. It was awesome.
I saw that. That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean.
So, are you willing to say, Adam, that Howie Roseman won the trade?
No, I'm not. I never want to give up capital for the running back position. I don't know what Howie was thinking, but he made up for it with the Jordan Phillips move, no doubt. All right. 6th seed in the NFC is the San Francisco 49ers. This was obviously the NFC West championship game. They did not have Ricky Pearsall, which I think mattered. Juwan Jennings was banged up, wincing throughout the game. He's had this rib issue. Trent Williams was out, which really, really, really hurt. But still, Evan, NFC West title game. You're playing at home, and you score 3 points, the Niners do. 3 points on 4.1 yards per play. Just a really tough way for the 49ers to lose the number 1 seed and end their regular season. What do you think of their game against the Seahawks?
I mean, they are really, really limping in. We talked about it last week. I remember there was a play during the previous game where Ricky Pearsall had a 30-yard catch, came at limping badly. I was like, oh, man, he's done for the rest of it. He came back in, and I think he had like 85 yards in that game. In week was at 17, and then he did not play this past. PCL is just are rough, man. And he has not been able to get over the hump. And he's so critical to them because he's their best downfield route runner. He has proven to be, a dangerous deep threat in the rare instances that he has been healthy. They don't really have that element other than him in their offense. I mean, Demarcus Robinson, Kendrick Bourne is definitely not a deep threat. George Kittle can be a deep threat. I don't know how healthy is George Kittle right now, coming back from the hamstring. Trent Williams is a huge deal. They played, one of the best defenses. Actually, Seattle finished as the number one DVO rated defense in the NFL this year. So we could say best defense in the NFL over the course of the season, Seattle. But still, you're the 49ers. Your defense is a sieve. You are relying on your offense to carry you, and obviously the offense wasn't able to do anything. So that they're a very one-dimensional team. When they're at full strength on offense, they might have the best offense left in the playoffs, but they're very far from 100% offensively at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing to me to watch, and I don't expect Ricky Pearsall to play in this game, unfortunately, but I do think Trent Williams has a chance to play this week. And to me, that is a huge, huge deal. If the 49ers are going to have a chance here against this Eagles defense, they absolutely need Trent Williams to play. I am worried about Jawan Jennings' health. They said something on the broadcast, like he's been playing through 5 broken ribs since the beginning of the year. Like he just hasn't looked that great. And I think he has been banged up all year. So it's tough. I thought, maybe Evan disagrees. I thought Kittle looked fine coming back from that ankle thing. 5 catches, 29 yards, played 40 out of 42 snaps. He didn't make any big plays, but I didn't think the injury from the week 17 injury really affected him there too much.
Brock Purdy going into this game, and there were a bunch of advanced metrics showing that he was maybe the most efficient quarterback in the NFL when he'd been playing, and he was just completely shut down by Seattle.
Yeah.
So that was, he had been playing at such a high level and then just nothing.
Speaking of inefficiency, Christian McCaffrey finished this season at 3.9 yards per carry. That is the lowest for a full season since his rookie year. Now, his role was so insane for fantasy. Red zone, he was 3rd in the NFL carries inside the 5-yard line. And then, of course, he got 129 targets, caught 102 of them. But efficiency is at least somewhat of a concern as he continues to get a little bit older here. That said, he would be my pick for comeback player of the year here, Evan. I think it's either McCaffrey, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, I think has a reasonable case, Aiden Hutchinson, but I would still vote for McCaffrey. He had that weird calf thing, weird Achilles thing last year. Comes back when a lot of people thought he was dead, plays in every game, averages more than 55 snaps a game, averages 24 touches a game, leads the entire NFL in total touches. I mean, if you're talking about a comeback, I think that's pretty clearly McCaffrey. I know he's the huge favorite right now, but yeah, Evan, any McCaffrey thoughts and who would be your pick for comeback player of the year?
I mean, I'm just looking at the odds, and McCaffrey is a massive, massive favorite. We can get real nitpicky with Christian McCaffrey that he only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. He did not have a 20-plus yard run until, I believe, week 16. But his ability to shoulder so much of the offensive load in San Francisco while other dudes are getting hurt all around him, he's constant. He's that one constant.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely in a runaway, he should be comeback player of the year. And I think that he's at least, I don't think he's deserving of offensive player of the year, but he absolutely should be in the conversation. And he is.
Yeah. And we'll talk about offensive player of the year here in a minute. Let's go to the number 4 seed in the NFC. It is the Carolina Panthers. Panthers back their way into the playoffs, like the definition of backing your way in. Lose at Tampa in what was supposed to be the NFC South title game on Saturday. Panthers fall to 8-9 on the season. But on Sunday, Falcons beat the Saints. That forces a 3-way tie atop the NFC South, 3 teams at 8-9. Panthers win that convoluted tiebreaker somehow, and they are the NFC's number 4 seed. I mean, really is a joke of a division. I mean, the Panthers were outscored by opponents by 69 points. Bryce finished 33rd. Bryce Young finished 33rd among 38 quarterbacks in yards per attempt. But they get to host a playoff game, so good for them. Evan, what do you think of Panthers' loss to the Bucs on Saturday?
The Panthers just aren't a very good team. They were 23rd in point differential. they don't really have anything that they do really, really well. They do everything like okay, and that's how you win in the NFC South these days. I mean, Rico Dowdle is at 3.2 yards per carry over his last 8 games. You remember he had that blow up earlier in the season, the eruption, a few eruptions, and it just hasn't been the same ever since. Chuba Hubbard isn't really adding anything to their running game either. They lost Jatavian Sanders to that broken ankle a couple. Tommy Tremble did have a nice game on 4 targets, 3 for 38 and a touchdown against Tampa Bay. He played 90% of the Panthers' offensive snaps. I think we'll be talking about him in DFS, the wild card round DFS.
Yep.
And then the biggest story is that Jalen Coker has just lapped Xavier Legette, played 92% of the Panthers' offensive snaps this past week. He's a true number 2 receiver.
Yeah, so the 2 wide receiver set now is Coker and Tetaroya McMillan, which I think it should be. I mean, Coker has been better than Legette at pretty much every turn, and Coker's been a solid NFL player. Legette could end up as a healthy scratch. I mean, Jimmy Horn might get ahead of him here at some point. It was Legette 16 routes, Jimmy Horn 14 in that game on Saturday. I did think that McMillan played a really good game. Yeah, only 4 catches for 85 yards, no touchdowns. He had a couple huge plays called back by questionable penalties, including offensive pass interference on like a jam play at the line. So I want to talk about offensive rookie of the year in a second. Last comment on the Panthers, the Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard split continues to be very close. Snaps in this huge game on Saturday, Rico 27, Chuba 23. It's just going to be hot hand, So like we're going to have them probably pretty tight in projection, Rico and Chuba Hubbard here. Chuba better bet for catches, I think, but Rico better bet for touchdowns. Okay. Offensive rookie of the year, Evan. You can make a case for a lot of guys. McMillan, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, Travion Henderson. Who would be, if you had a vote, who would be your pick for offensive rookie of the year?
I mean, I'm looking at the odds, and Tet McMillan is the huge favorite.
Yeah.
I don't think that, if it was up to me, I think Jackson Dart should be right there with him. Tet finished with over 1,000 yards on a poor passing team, 7 touchdowns, 70 catches. It's not a great year for offensive rookie of the year. But I think that Jackson Dart, I don't know. Would you bet on him at plus 950 right now, Jackson Dart?
There was one time yesterday or 2 days ago where Tet was like minus 4,000 or something ridiculous. I think all these guys should be close. So I took some Dart at like 20-1, some Shuck, I believe like 5-1, 6-1, but now he got out to like 30-1, Travion 25-1. I think Tet will end up winning the award, but I think it'll be much closer than these odds suggest. Like he should not be a runaway whatsoever. I actually think that the best rookie this year was probably Tyler Shuck. The team was dead. The team has such little talent. He steps in, immediately gives the offense life, wins 5 games, 13th in the NFL in yards per attempt. Jackson Dart was 28th. Shuck was 10th in completion percentage. That said, he only started 10 games. So it's hard for me to vote for a guy that only started 10 games when McMillan was the alpha receiver for a playoff game, for a playoff team all year. And so when it's close like this, I kind of think the voters end up siding with the better team. I'm just not convinced the Panthers were any better than the Saints. Right. Not much better.
Yeah. It does help that they, even though they didn't even deserve it,
right,
they snuck into the playoffs. That's going to help Tet McMillan, I think.
Yeah, and honestly,
I don't think. My guess is that your normal fan is out there not watching a whole lot of Saints games late in the season. But man, Tyler Shuck is good.
Yeah,
the way that he could throw the ball on the run. He makes good decisions. As you mentioned, he had nobody around him. He's a really, really promising find, I think. And I understand why people were kind of pessimistic about Tyler Shuck. He couldn't even win the starting job at a training camp over Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
He's old. He was in college forever. But, he can play. I think he's going to be a multi-year starter for the Saints at very least.
Yeah. And so the other one that Evan brought up, Jackson Dart, I could see voting for him also. He was special as a playmaker for this Giants team.
He's got
running,
great numbers on paper.
and he accounted for a ton of touchdowns.
Touchdowns.
Throwing and running, and he ran for a ton of yards. Now, his underlying stats are not that great, because he's kind of like plays like a wild man. But yeah, just from like watching him, I could see why people would want to vote for him, and his counting stats are pretty good as well. So, I think all three of those guys have an argument, man. I really do. I do think McMillan end up winning, but I do not think he should be like minus 150 or something, or minus 200 to me versus those other two quarterbacks. All right. By the way, Panthers are a 10-point home dog to the Rams here in this playoff game. Market is not giving the Panthers much of a chance against the Rams, even at home. Speaking of the Rams, they are the 5 seed in the NFC. They lose to the Seahawks on Saturday. And I'm sorry, the 49ers lost to the Seahawks on Saturday, which meant the Rams knew they could lock up the 5 seed with a win on Sunday. And they deemed playing the Panthers was indeed important enough to go all out. They do that. They beat the Cardinals 37-20. Along the way, they stat pad Matthew Stafford's MVP case a bit more. He throws for 4 touchdowns in this game. Evan, what do you think of Rams' win over the Cardinals?
Well, as someone who was rooting for Drake May to win NFL MVP, because we did a show in like May with Ryan Reynolds, an award show, and I was on Drake May at like 80-1, or I don't know, something super long shot, and to win MVP. And like as of 2 Mondays ago, he was the minus 400 favorite to win MVP. I mean, and now Matthew Stafford is minus 175, which I don't even think is, I think it should be minus 1,000. Like Matthew Stafford is going to win NFL MVP. That I think it's just the biggest lock.
Are you saying
not only does he have the pro Rams media conspiracy on his side, which is not a conspiracy, it's a real thing, but he finished the season leading the NFL in passing yards, and he led the NFL in passing touchdowns with 12 more than the next closest guy. Matthew Stafford is lock city.
Are you saying you would vote for Matthew Stafford, or are you saying that the voters are going to vote?
I'm very, very biased because I have money involved. So I don't know if I'm the right guy to ask. But, I mean, I'm fine either way. I'd probably vote for Matthew Stafford, honestly.
Yeah, so I think this is very, very close. From a data perspective, from like efficiency, data, EPA, anything like that, Drake May blows Matthew Stafford out, right? And so all the data guys would come out and be like, you idiot, you don't know ball, you're all the, and like you're a tape watcher. All the data guys are going to say you're an idiot if you vote for Matthew Stafford. I do not think, I don't know who I would vote for. I think it's really, really close. I do not think you're an idiot though if you vote for Matthew Stafford. People are going to say, oh, look, Matthew Stafford has Puka and Devontae and McVay. Are we sure it's not the other way around? Puka has Stafford. Devontae Adams, 33 years old, has Stafford. Sean McVay has Stafford. Stafford has done this throughout his career. He has been behind many of the best wide receiver seasons ever. Calvin Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Wide receivers always have the best seasons of their career with him. We're talking about Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. And so, yes, from who they're going to vote for, I think there is some lifetime achievement award stuff that is going to play into this. Drake May has the next 15 years to win MVP. I'm not saying that should be the criteria, but I think that's going to go into voters' head. To me, it's like, toss it up. I think they both have very, very, very deserving cases, but I just want to push back on all the data people that are going to say only idiots vote for Matthew Stafford. And, I just disagree. May had an all. May is very, very deserving. Also,
he had one of the best downfield passing seasons of all time, and he can run. This is a great stat from CBS Sports. Drake May, if he were to win MVP, which he's not going to win MVP, but if Drake May were to win MVP, he would be the first player ever to win MVP with no Pro Bowl teammates on offense.
Yeah.
So, he played an easier schedule than Matthew Stafford. We know that. But he also played with a bunch of dudes, a bunch of geeks off the street around him.
100%. Drake May is very, very deserving of MVP votes. There's absolutely no doubt. Just to get back to the Rams quickly here for the game against the Panthers, we are expecting Devontae Adams back here. I think we'll see fewer 3 tight end sets with Devontae Adams back. In this game, the tight end routes were Parkinson 30. Tyler Higbee got back. He ran 26. Davis Allen 19. By the way, Terrence Ferguson sat out precautionary here. He's expected back too. So they will have all 4 of their tight ends active here. We'll talk more about that on Friday. A couple more small notes on the Rams. Kyron Williams was ahead of Blake Corum in this game in snaps, 47-25. But again, even in a huge game, Blake Corum 14 opportunities, Kyron 17. And last thing, Evan, this Kevin Dotson injury. I don't know how much you think this matters, but Kevin Dotson, they're calling questionable for this game. Rob Havenstein, they're still calling week to week. Any thoughts on the offensive line situation for the Rams, or any final Rams thoughts ahead of their game against the Panthers?
I mean, that was one of the reasons that I thought it made some sense for them to rest starters in the final game, but they wound up smashing. So,
yeah,
and they didn't get any guys hurt during the game. So, yeah, I'm just hoping to have those guys back. Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein, and Alaric Jackson, their left tackle, dealt with injuries down the stretch as well.
Number 1 seed, final NFC team we're going to talk about today is the Seattle Seahawks. It was the NFC West title game on Saturday night. Seahawks defense was absolutely exceptional. Holds the white-hot 49ers offense to just 3 points. But to me, the key to the game, obviously the defense, but Seahawks' ability to run the ball. They have not run the ball consistently this season. In this matchup, Kenneth Walker was awesome, 16 carries, 97 yards. And Charbonnet also 17 carries, 74 yards. And this is why I think it's a good matchup for the Eagles, because even the Seahawks, who have struggled to run the ball so much this season, even they ran the ball right down the throat of the 49ers. So, Evan, any thoughts on Seahawks win over the 49ers on Saturday?
Yeah, and the guy who really stood out in the running game, besides Zach Charbonnet and Zach Charbonnet, and Kenneth Walker, who both performed very well in this game, was Gray Zabel, the Seahawks starting left guard, first-round pick. He was PFF's highest-graded player in the entire league in Week 18 in a game that really mattered. So that's awesome for Seattle. Seattle also played this game without Charles Cross, their starting left tackle, who on Sunday signed a 4-year, $104.4 million extension. He missed the final 2 games. He should be back after the Seahawks first round bye.
Yeah.
One other the Seahawks on defense, they have allowed 16 points or fewer in 5 of their last 6 games. They finished number 1 in the NFL in point differential at plus 191. This is kind of like every time you listen to a sports podcast, oh, the Rams are the best team in the NFL. Rams are the best team in the NFL. Rams are the best team in the NFL. Are you sure about that? I mean, are we sure that it's not the Seahawks? The Seahawks just beat the Rams, and they had a much better point differential. So I don't know that that's for sure, but the media loves the Rams.
Yeah, well, I'll give you my pick to win the NFC this year if you'd like. The Seattle Seahawks. My pick to what I think my pick for a Super Bowl matchup is Seahawks versus Patriots. I think that will be the Super Bowl. Obviously it's super flat. These are going to be awesome games. It's going to come down to a lot of one possession stuff, I think, in a lot of these games. But yeah, gun to my head right now, I would say Seahawks, Patriots, Super Bowl, which I think would be a pretty good one.
One other note, Clint Kubiak, Seahawks offensive coordinator, who's done, a great job. Sam Darnold, JSN. We're going to talk about OPOY here, I assume.
Yeah.
Clint Kubiak is right now the favorite at sportsbooks, and sportsbooks, I don't know that they have any insider knowledge on head coaching stuff, but he is technically the favorite at sportsbooks to be the Falcons' next head coach.
Yeah, that'd be awesome for Drake London, obviously. Yeah, one other note here on Seahawks, just as they head into their bye, they cannot get Rashid Shaheed going. Again in this game, he played a ton, 21 routes on 30 dropbacks, basically the same as Cooper Kupp, but just 1 target for Rashid Shaheed. Since joining the Seahawks, Shaheed is at 2.9 targets per game. I mean, they just have not, and he's contributed in the return game and made some big plays, a couple here or there, but he has not been what I thought he would be for the Seahawks. Okay. Offensive player of the year. JSN, Puka, and CMC, I think, are the three main candidates. If you had to vote for offensive player of the year, Evan, who would you vote for?
Well, here's the thing. Puka's raw stats are actually better than JSN's at this point because he just went nuclear down the stretch with no Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
But over the course of the season, I think that JSN carried the Seahawks offense. They had so many problems with they couldn't run the ball for the vast majority of the season, and he's still out there every single with no support system at all. I mean, you got AJ Barner and the crust of Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed, who they can't get going, and JSN is just inevitable every single week. What did he have? Like maybe one slow game the entire season. He carried the Seahawks offense. The Seahawks are number one in the NFL in point differential and get the NFC's number one seed. I think you give it to JSN despite the fact that Puka wound up putting up better counting stats.
Yep, agreed with all of that. I would vote for JSN here as well. And like he accounted for 44% of the team's passing yards. He saw 34% of the targets. It's just like, it's really hard to see this offense doing anything without JSN. And I don't want to take anything from Puka. He's absolutely incredible, but offense probably would have still been okay without Puka. Okay. There's no better way to get closer to the action than with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Right now, our partners at DK are giving new customers a shot to play free for their share of millions in prizes in playoff best ball with their first deposit on the DK Daily Fantasy app. Simply download it and enter promo code ETR during signup to play free for your share of millions in playoff best ball. We also have rankings for that. If you have the best ball subscription, you can upload those rankings to DraftKings. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit required. One single-use $3 ticket reward that expires in 14 days. See terms at DraftKings.com/promotions. Let's go to the AFC now. We'll start with the New England Patriots. Patriots wanted to secure the number 2 seed, and so they play to win against the Dolphins. Drake May only needs to drop back 23 times. He does not go for the stat padding thing. He only drops back 23 times. Patriots roll 38-14. Story to me, Evan, continues to be Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, guy is just playing unreal. 131 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns on just 7 carries, plus 2 catches for 22 yards and another touchdown. Travion Henderson was supposed to be the late season hammer. Travion Henderson was supposed to be the big play guy. Travion Henderson was supposed to be the guy in the pass game. All those things have instead applied to Ramondre Stevenson, not Travion Henderson here down the stretch. So any thoughts on that, Evan, and any other Patriots thoughts as we head to the playoffs?
It just kind of goes to show that, you know, Travion Henderson, there's a reason why he didn't run away with the Patriots feature back job. And that's because Ramondre Stevenson is pretty good. And Ramondre Stevenson right now is on a flipping tear. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, Patriots wasted the Dolphins and not a whole lot of true takeaways to have from that. But the Patriots finished the 2025 season. This goes back to your talk about like the data guys, like in the MVP race, you know, the old fashioned guys are going to be looking at the touchdowns of Matthew Stafford and the yardage of Matthew Stafford. The Patriots finished the season number 1 in the NFL in EPA per play, which in offensive EPA per play. And that is a statistic that like coaches look at. Like Ben Johnson openly talks about EPA, and data guys are big on that. And the Patriots finished number 1 in the AFC in point differential. Yeah. And that is very, very, very in large part to Drake May. You know, 85% of that is due to Drake May. And that's why he still belongs in the MVP discussion, even though Matthew Stafford's going to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'll also just say, yes, it's true. They played one of the easiest schedules you will ever see in the history of the NFL. They got to play the Dolphins twice, the Jets twice, the Giants, the Falcons, the Browns, the Titans, the Saints, the Panthers, the Raiders. I mean, you could not draw up an easier schedule, Not that that should take away from Drake May's case a ton, but it's certainly a factor. And like, yeah, there's nuance in there. Some of the past defenses they played were better than maybe their overall numbers seem. But just from like an overall systemic point, they were in so many positions to play downhill for the entire game.
It's also worth noting that, you know, style points do matter, especially when you have a weak schedule, which, I mean, everybody knew that the Patriots had one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. That's why they were a really popular bounce back pick. I was on them to, you know, not necessarily to win 14 games, but they took care of business every single week. They won 14 games, and they won games by a lot. You know, they are blowing teams out too. I mean, it's not like they're fiddling around with bad teams. Like, they beat the freaking Dolphins here by 28, you know, and that's how you get that big time point differential at plus 170 is by beating down inferior opponents, by taking care of business. And the Patriots did that week in and week out.
Yeah, they'll host the Chargers on Sunday night in the 2-7 game. No Mac Hollins, 3 wide receiver set should be mostly Diggs, Booty, Pop Douglas in the slot, and Chisholm a little bit filling in there as well. If one thing that I think also can hurt Drake May in the MVP thing, Evan, is the coach of the year race. In other words, guys, these voters, they might vote for Mike Vrabel and be like, oh, I'm handling the Patriots here. I'm voting for Vrabel, and I'm going to vote for Stafford for MVP. I don't think that's the way you should do it. I think if you're a voter, you should consider each award completely on an individual basis, but it's possible that some people do that. But you can make a case for Vrabel. You can make a case for Mike McDonald. I think did a great job. I think Liam Cohen did an awesome job. Sean Payton, Kyle Shanahan did really good jobs as well. So like, normally I hate every coach in the NFL. There were a lot of guys I think that did a really good job this season. Who would be
you
your
usually
vote?
Hate every coach?
Not every, but only because they tilt me so often. Who would be your vote for coach of the year here this season?
2 weeks ago, I would have said Ben Johnson. I did say Ben Johnson on this show. Might have been 1 week ago. But the way that they finished, you know, it kind of takes a little bit of a shine off of that. They did get the number 2 seed, though, in the NFC. And, I mean, I laid out my case for him last week. So maybe I'd stick with – I don't think he's going to win. I think Sean Payton is a great pick. I mean, you get the AFC's number 1 seed. What he's done with Bo Nix, managing and manipulating Bo Nix, who I don't think is like necessarily a quality starter. I think that he is elevated by the coaching of Sean Payton. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Liam Cohen is a great candidate.
Yeah. My issue with Payton is he's an offensive guy and the defense carried them so much, and 1-score games, like, it's just kind of random. You know, I think that would be my bone to pick with Sean Payton. I think McDonald has like an amazing case because they win the toughest division in football. They get the number 1 seed, and they do it with McDonald's signature, which is defense. You know,
and that's his defense. Exactly.
So
I think that's a great pick. I mean, it's going to be tough for the voters. And also, and I'm with you. I think that if people are voting for Drake May, which I really don't think that very many of them, they're not going to vote for Mike Vrabel for head coach.
Right. And I also, you know, I agree with Evan. Ben Johnson did an awesome job. I would just throw Liam Cohen did more with Trevor Lawrence than I thought Trevor Lawrence was capable of. And he did it without contributions from Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter, you know, so Liam Cohen's definitely got a case here as well. Although when Trevor Lawrence got hot, I know they had that Broncos game, but still he's had a lot of really soft matchups as well here during his streak. All right. 17 in the AFC is the Chargers. They decided to rest most of their starters in week 18. They were already locked in to that 7 spot. They will play at New England on Saturday night. Only note for me here was the return of Kimani Vidal from his neck injury. What will the split be between Hampton and Vidal in the playoffs? I think is a really interesting question. They did not trust Hampton on passing downs very much when he came back from his injury, but I think we might see that change. I think we'll have Hampton pretty decently ahead in projection here for wildcard round. Evan, any thoughts on that or any other Chargers thoughts? My
thoughts revolve around Omarion Hampton's health because we know that he missed most of the season with the ankle injury. I don't remember. I don't remember him individually in the game aggravating that, or did they just sit him because
I think they just sat him. Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe that I get. I think that what they were leaning toward was playing Vidal more in the game because they can trust him in those pass protection situations, which they need because they can't protect. But actually giving the ball to Omarion Hampton more, assuming that he is healthy, which I'm with you. I think that he kind of sat because they were just sitting, as many starters as they could.
Yeah. Trey Lance can really run. I know I keep talking about this, but like Trey Lance had 9 carries for 69 yards against the Denver defense in this game. I'm just like, anytime he plays, I wish it was a better spot for him than at Denver because the rushing is obviously so valuable in DFS and in fantasy. And he was able to get Keenan Allen his incentive. I mean, Lance was just like, Keenan Allen must have offered him some money because Lance was throwing to Keenan. He threw it to him 13 times.
Well, Keenan Allen had a big incentive, right?
Right. It got $1 million, 13 times for 36 yards.
$1 million.
$1 million. I hope that Keenan gave Trey Lance some of that money. Didn't put much great tape out there, did Trey Lance, but he did get Keenan Allen his incentive. All right. Let's go to the Jaguars. Jaguars needed a win over the Titans in week 18 to lock up the AFC South. They get that win easily. Trevor Lawrence, again, extremely sharp, 22 of 30, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jaguars will enter the playoffs on an 8-game win streak. They'll host the Bills on Sunday. Evan, what do you think of Jaguars' easy win over the Titans?
They beat up on the Titans, The one interesting thing that, Bashaw Tutin came back.
Yeah.
And this was a blowout. Bashaw Tutin did not touch the ball until late in the first half when the Jaguars were up 21-7. And 3 of his 5 carries came in the fourth quarter of the blowout. So do they ramp Bashaw Tutin up, more in their first playoff game, or do they really stick with Travis Etienne? That's, I guess, the one little thing that I've been looking at.
Yeah. I think some of the Josh Jacobs thing, chips are down. They probably trust Etienne a lot more than Tutin. And so we'll have that gap probably wider than it was when both guys were healthy earlier in the season. Oh, last note for me on Jaguars, this Parker Washington things. I'm curious.
It's not stopping.
I mean, 29 targets in his last 3 games, and that has led to 347 yards. We have him ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. in our playoff rankings. And in terms of projections for Wildcard Weekend, we're going to have Parker Washington well ahead of Brian. I mean, imagine before the season, I told you in the playoffs, we would have Parker Washington like 2 or 3 points clear of Brian Thomas in the playoffs. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on how sticky this stuff is with Parker Washington?
It keeps happening, and we know he's good with the ball in his hands because he has 2 punt return touchdowns on the year. Another feather in the cap for Liam Cohen when it comes to Coach of the Year is getting big-time production from dudes that, we could have taken or left before the season. And Parker Washington is one of them. Brenton Strange is another one. Brenton Strange has been cooking over his last 3 weeks, 5 for 39 and a touchdown, 3 for 54, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. And so the Jaguars just kind of have a lot of weapons right now. I also thought the way that their offensive line has come together on Saturday, the Jaguars signed Cole Van Lanen to a 3-year, $51 million extension. He's their left tackle. He was a 2021 6th-round pick of the Packers, who the Jaguars traded a 7th-round pick for at one point. They easily could have discarded him under the new regime. They did not. And now he has started the majority of the season. He's PFF's number 15 overall graded tackle on the season. And they signed him to this smart extension. And their offensive line has been very good over the course of this, maybe like the sort of the unsung hero of the Jaguars offensive season. And this is another team that is just pasting opponents. I mean, they win by big margins. So it's not just taking down a bunch of, cupcakes. And they've played their fair share of every team plays cupcakes, okay? But they've played a lot of cupcakes, but they smash the cupcakes.
the reward that they get for this is they have to play the Bills. And maybe you'd be surprised to know, or maybe you already looked, Evan, but the Bills are favored in this game in Jacksonville. So market not buying the Jaguars as much as we move to the Bills here, who are the 6th seed. They played their backup Sunday, still beat the Jets 35-8. Of course. I mean, God, the Jets are such a joke. But anyways, even though James Cook only got 2 carries in this game, he wins the rushing title. Even though Josh Allen only took 1 snap in this game, he extends his consecutive start streak. And even though he's a backup, Ray Davis showed why he is one of the most valuable handcuffs in the NFL and fantasy to James Cook. So, Evan, thoughts on the Bills being a favorite in Jacksonville, and any other Bills thoughts as we get set for the playoffs?
It's surprising to me. And also the Bills' first-round pick, Maxwell Hairston, cornerback, who's played really well, he's not going to play in this game. And that's the strength of the Bills' defense, is their pass coverage. They kind of sell out to stop the pass. You can run it on them. I mean, I think the Jaguars are going to win. I haven't made any final decisions on, my predictions or anything like that, but I think the Jaguars, I would have them favored. But the sports books know more than me.
I thought that the Jaguars would be favored by 2 or 2.5. I'm surprised the Bills are favored, but you know what the deal is when you play the Bills. If you can contain Josh Allen and James Cook, easier said than done. The Jaguars will win this game easily, if they can contain those 2 guys. But yeah. Good to see Dalton Kincaid sound like he could have played in this game if they wanted him to. And Dawson Knox did play in this game. Those guys have been banged up. Josh Allen also had a foot issue and some other issues. Expect him to be 100%.
That's another thing. Oh, you think he's going to be 100%?
Well, I think he'll be healthier.
That's another thing. That's another big key to this game. What is the true health of Josh Allen? I mean, we want him to be 100% with his legs and his feet and all that stuff, because that's such a big part of his game. I don't think that he was 100% at the end of the year, at the end of the regular season.
Agreed. And maybe I was thinking the week off would get him back to 100%, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's not enough time for him to be, 2 weeks off is not enough. I mentioned the Matthew Golden, make you play on week 18 stuff. Bills made Keon Coleman play here after he was a healthy scratch so often. He runs 23 routes, only gets 4 targets though. Gabe Davis led the team with 7 targets. So not the best for Keon Coleman. Number 4 seed, let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The AFC North Championship game was Sunday night. This was the last game of the regular season. Wild fourth quarter. Steelers somehow give up 2 bombs to Zay Flowers in the final 9 minutes and still win the game, still survive after Tyler Loop's missed field goal. I mean, I guess credit to the Steelers. They won 10 games this year. I don't know how they won 10 games, but they won 10 games this year. Evan, what do you think of Steelers win over the Ravens?
Well, I think if we're being realistic, the Steelers are kind of the AFC's Panthers, although I think that the Steelers are better than the Panthers. They were able to finish this off, which I didn't think that they were, but they were able to finish this off without DK Metcalf, without Darnell Washington, and he's not coming back. But DK Metcalf will be back, and that'll be big for them. But Aaron Rodgers, over his last 5 games, 4-1 record, 66.5 completion rate, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a rushing TD. He's kind of like a game manager, but he played well enough for them to win down the stretch and close up and lock up the division title.
Yeah, and we've talked about this repeatedly every week. Aaron Rodgers is getting the ball out of his hand extremely fast, and that's why you end up with Kenny Gainwell with this outrageous role in full PPR. Kenny Gainwell caught 73 passes this season. That includes 29 in his last 5 games. 29 catches in his last 5 games for Kenny Gainwell here. That is their offense. Now, DK Metcalf, as Evan mentioned, will be back from suspension for this wild card game. I still think the passing offense goes through Kenny Gainwell, man, which is an insane thing to say for a playoff team. That's their best chance of moving the ball against this Texans defense. Check it down to Kenny Gainwell. And I think that's what they're going to do.
And the big matchup in this game, which I think it has a chance to be a pretty good game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring by any means, Texans, Steelers. But one of the biggest matchups is going to be the Steelers defensive front against the Texans offensive line.
All right. Let's go to the Texans now. They are the 5 seed. It was weird. They decided to make Nico Collins a healthy scratch in week 18. signaling they weren't going to take this game against the Colts too seriously. But then they did play starters for the first half. They were only up 23-17. And then the second half, they go all backups. Davis Mills at quarterback, they squeeze out a wild win, 43-yard field goal with 12 seconds left. They are the 5 seed, which, is important. They get to play the Steelers on Monday, and they're 3.5-point favorites in that game. So a bit of a weird run out in week 18, but I guess it doesn't really matter now. Evan, what any thoughts on Texans as they get set to face the Steelers in Pittsburgh?
Well, the story of that game was Riley Leonard, but we are focusing on the playoff teams, and there's just no real big takeaways. The one thing though, I saw you mention that Jawar Jordan got banged up in this game.
Yes,
and he had kind of been adding. I mean, he's not going to be their workhorse or anything like that, but he had been adding a spark to their running game. Obviously, we're doing this on Tuesday, early afternoon. There are no injury reports out, but that'll be something I'm monitoring on this week's injury report. Jawar Jordan.
Yeah, he had moved ahead of Nick Chubb, and so if Jawar can't go, it'll be Nick Chubb behind Woody Marks. But I'm not sure it matters. Like, this team can't run the ball. They finished 29th in EPA per rush, did the Texans. They finished 31st in success rate, in rushing success rate, did the Texans. Like, Woody Marks is not being able to run the ball either, and I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball that well against the Steelers, which is weird for a defensive team. Like, their formula is play really good defense and throw, which is a weird formula, but yeah. And we'll get Nico back here at 100% and fresh, hopefully. All right. Last team today is the Denver Broncos. Earned the number 1 seed. They did play all out in an effort to secure that very important bye. They did that. They beat the Chargers 19-3, but Bo Nix and the Broncos starters score 0 touchdowns, muster just 4.1 yards per play against the Chargers backups. I mean, there are plenty of holes to poke in the Broncos, despite them being the AFC's number 1 seed. They have played down to level of their competition often. They've had some great games. Bo Nix has played some great games. They've had some horrific games, and I would consider this one of them, even though they won easily. Evan, what do you think of Broncos game here against the Chargers?
I mean, just over the course of the season, you're right. They have this tendency to play down to their competition. You remember the Thursday night game against the Raiders?
Yeah. So
they couldn't. The game against the Chiefs and Chris Olodokun came down like the Chiefs almost won that game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. But yeah, I mean, that's ultimately the Broncos finished with a plus 90 point differential. That was only 5th in the AFC. They had the number 1 seed and they were 5th in point differential in the AFC.
The most disappointing thing to me about this game against the Chargers was RJ Harvey's result. I mean, 15 carries for 28 yards and 1 catch on 4 targets. I mean, against the Chargers backups. And now we get reports that J.K. Dobbins could be back by the AFC Championship game if they get there. We'll see. I'm a little skeptical on that. But it does seem like if the Broncos make the Super Bowl, which, it pains me to say as a lifelong Broncos fan since last month, but I do not think the Broncos are going to make the Super Bowl. But if they do, it sounds like Dobbins could definitely be back here for this game. And yeah, I still like RJ Harvey, but that was a really disappointing result for him. I gave Seahawks Patriots for my Super Bowl. Do you want to make a prediction, Evan, your Super Bowl combatants this season?
Putting me on the spot.
You want to put it in the column, and we can tease the people to put it. You can put it at the bottom of your column.
All right. Let's do that. I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Eagles, Jaguars.
Wow. Eagles, it's crazy how flat it is. I mean, you could. I don't think
anybody. I wouldn't disagree with you.
Yeah. It is a good path for the Eagles. There's no doubt. They're super talented. We'll see if they can turn it on offense. And yeah, Jaguars is super interesting as well, but I'm going to stick with Seahawks Patriots for me. All right. That is going to do it for this team by team playoff preview edition. We will be back next week to get you set for the divisional round. Reminder for anyone with in-season product, projections will be live. Evan and I will be on ETS on Thursday, most likely going game by game through every angle of every player. And then we have 2 Established a Million shows coming up this week, one for the Saturday show, one for the Saturday slate, one for the Sunday slate. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, for everyone behind the scenes at ETR, I'm Adam. Good luck, everybody.